Hey everyone, and welcome back to Bridging the Gap. Make sure to leave a like on this video down below and subscribe. My name is Alvin. I lean right on most issues, and I'll be representing the Republican side.
My name is Luke. I lean left on most issues, and I'll be representing the Democratic side. Hello, guys. In this video, we're going to be doing another 2024 election video um, in a basically a scenario where it's former President Trump against incumbent President Joe Biden. And in this video, we're going to be doing what we see as the best possible scenario for Donald Trump. Yeah.
Yeah, two things. This is a first time that Luke is recording from a different device, so if the audio is a little wonky, please forgive us. Second, this is a top 5% scenario, so like we said as a disclaimer in the last video, obviously the best case is you win all the electoral votes, but since that hasn't happened since George Washington, we think, a top 5% scenario is more reasonable, and that's what we're going to do. So top 5% scenario for Trump on election night as of July 2023. We have obviously all the safe states for Trump that we had in the regular presidential prediction, because in his best case, of course, he gets all his safe states to be safe. Now, most of Biden's safe states are marked as safe, but there's some that I think could be up for debate. And I guess we'll start there. So I think there's a few to look at, and maybe we start over here with Colorado and New Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, personally, Colorado, I don't see Trump honestly, I don't see him breaking through Biden at all there. I think no matter what, Biden's gonna win it by 10 points or higher,
Correct.
honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's yeah, it's just like the leftward trends don't seem to be showing any signs of stopping.
Mhm.
And yeah, like even in a best case, yeah, I don't think Trump would get that into a likely margin at all.
I agree. So I think New Mexico is different, though. New
Hmm.
Mexico, I think this one is a likely margin in the best case. We saw we obviously saw in 2020 that it was, really close around that. It was 10.8, and it's in 2022 we saw Mark Ronchetti get the state. He's a Republican. Get the state against an incumbent governor under 10 points. And obviously he's a better candidate than Trump in the state. He's well liked in the state. But also, it's not like Biden's a much better candidate than the governor. I would argue the governor's a better candidate there. And in a good year for Trump, I think he could definitely get under 10.
Yeah, definitely. Um, if the like, yeah, like in a really bad scenario for Biden, and if Trump does really well, yeah, like he could definitely improve on his 2020 margin, and yeah, get that closer, 100%.
I think that's the case for Virginia too.
Yeah.
Virginia is another one of those states where, it was hovering around 10 points, in 2020. It was very close to 10 points. And yeah, Biden got over 10, but of course, we saw in 2021 that Virginia is willing to vote for Republicans on the statewide level. And honestly, obviously, Trump is not Glenn Youngkin. Glenn Youngkin is a much better campaigner. He knows how to appeal to Virginians a lot better than
Hmm.
Trump. But after saying that, it's not like Trump can't move the needle 1 point to the right in, a potential year where Biden does really bad. He has really bad approval rating right now. He recently saw another valley for his approval, and yeah, I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory, I think.
Yep.
And then I think we can also go to the now safe states for Trump. I think there's three off the top of my head. I think Alaska in the
Hmm.
best case, Florida in the best case, and Ohio in the best case. Almost certainly go to Trump over 10. That we already talked about in the normal presidential video that these are likelies. And for a lot of these, we were saying, about 8 points is about where
Yeah.
we see Trump falling. And, a top 5% scenario, obviously Trump solidifies Alaska, Florida, and Ohio, and I guess Maine second district as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, on those, yeah, I agree essentially with all of them there. Alaska, like Trump really just has to like stay exactly where he was in 2020
Mhm.
to keep Alaska in that like solid position. And in a best case he could definitely do that. And Ohio, like Ohio's been slowly moving right, you know, again, like in these top top scenarios, he definitely can, and especially with the shifts in Florida too. There is a scenario certainly where Trump gets that above 10%. It is very possible with how fast the state's moving to the right. Now, in a realistic scenario, I think he falls around 7 points, but yeah, in the best case, like if it moves further than expected, then yeah, it could definitely get there.
Yeah, as you can see here, Alaska is trending to left, but it was 10 points for Trump last time, and he can keep it there in a good year. Florida and Ohio have been trending right. He can easily, pull that off, even in a not best case scenario. I mean, Florida and Ohio could go to the right over 10 points in a normal scenario. So he could lose the Electoral College and have these over 10. I mean, not that
Okay.
hard to see. Then I think we can go to closer states. Maybe we go to Texas here. I think Texas is a reasonably likely call here
Yeah.
because this is not a hard prediction. I think it's going to be very hard to see Trump get the state over 10. However, obviously, it's going to be over 5 just because of how we saw, small shifts to the left, but they're small. They're not in huge proportion. They're not like a Colorado. They're not like a New Hampshire, right? They're not like these states are just flying off to the left. No, Texas is moving slowly because of the counter shifts in the southern part, the border part of the state with Mexico, with the Hispanics. And yeah, I mean, in a bad turnout year for Democrats in the cities, for example, or Hispanics shift even more, they could shift another 20 points, hell if I know, and Texas stays in the likely column.
Um, yeah, I mean, for the most part, I agree with that. I mean, I don't think the Hispanic shifts are necessarily that strong that they're slowing the shifts in the suburbs because like suburbs have way higher population than those in the southern parts of the state. Um, but yeah, I mean, it is definitely possible that he just kind of I think it's more likely that he kind of just stagnates like in a best case scenario like maybe he gets it up to like 7 points and he improves on that 2020 a little bit. But yeah, I really don't see it like in a best case like moving. I definitely see Texas moving to the left here, at least a little bit. Yeah, like and I think we kind of both agree here. There's no shot he gets it above 10 points, especially in like when you compare to 2016, like he only got it to 9 points and the states only moved left from there. So yeah, I don't think so.
Correct. I mean, there would have to be a really bad recession or something for Texas to be over 10. And
hmm
at that point, the entire country would be completely rejecting Biden, and we would not have a business anymore doing these YouTube videos because everyone would know the results. So let's hope that kind of doesn't happen because we like to make videos. Having it close is better. All right. Maybe we'll do
That's
some normally likely Democrat states now.
I think before that, maybe we should go to North Carolina, just get the
Okay.
last Trump state out of the way, right? Like from 2020. Yeah, personally, I think North Carolina, I mean, it hasn't really been moving like the other states we've covered
Mm,
here, like, Alaska, Florida, Texas. They've all been like picking a direction and shifting that direction. North Carolina's kind of stayed in the same area, in that like lean Republican column. But yeah, I definitely think in a best case, Trump could get that to five, like to 5 points. Like
yeah.
in a best case, yeah, I think he could. Um, yeah, I would say like lean likely. Yeah, maybe like yeah, like I don't know. I think there's a little wiggle room here, but yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's at 5. North Carolina is a really funky state, but at the same time, Ted Budd won by what, 3 or 4 or something like that, right? In the state
hmm
in 2022. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm
Yeah, I
pretty
think that is
pretty
right. I
sure
think
it
it
was
was three.
around, it was some healthy margin that wasn't like we weren't like looking at the race until 1 a.m. or something like that. So it's like Trump just needs a pretty good year. Like Ted Budd had a pretty good year. And he shifts that a little more. Maybe the state rejects Biden a little more you know than it hated the Democratic nominee in that race. Now, there's also some weird stuff with the North Carolina legislature and the fact that, there's a governor race there and, everything going on with the supermajority in the legislature. But I think a lot of those things are just looking too deep into it. So I think honestly, likely is fair.
Yep.
Trump just needs a good night, and that's on the definitely on the possibility book. So now we go to the Biden states. The Biden states are obviously the ones that are going to flip because they're Biden states. And I guess we'll start with New Hampshire. Now, I don't really see New Hampshire or Maine for that matter flipping this
Yeah, me neither.
cycle. Now, New Hampshire does have a good history of rejecting incumbent presidents, and you can look at that back for quite a long time because they're quite libertarian, very high educated up there in the Northeast. But at the same time, New Hampshire was just such a big win for Biden in 2020. He won that state by such a fat margin. And then it was reaffirmed in 2022, obviously, with Hassan in that state. So the Senate race there kind of shows, how a big rejection of Trump, because even though they elected the Republican governor there by a very large margin, right? There was a very big rejection of Trump, and honestly, a good amount of support for a generic Democrat. And Biden is pretty much a generic Democrat. I mean, he's not liked, but he's not, he's not super far left. He's not extreme in any way. He's just Joe Biden. He was elected in 2020 because he was boring. That was the whole selling point. Like, hey, I'm more boring than Trump. You don't want Trump because he's too crazy. I'm boring. I'm a steady hand. So I think New Hampshire would definitely vote for Biden. Now, how much? I think this is lean for both. Now, I'm not saying that, Trump can't win these states, because obviously if Trump couldn't win these states, we would have these in complete territory where they are safe in the generic prediction, right? We would have safe New Hampshire, but it would have to be like a top 1 to 2% scenario where Trump really gets New Hampshire, I think. So for me, I think this is lean for both Maine and New Hampshire.
Yeah, I agree. And especially because Trump couldn't even take them in 2016. And then ever since then, it's just been getting worse and worse for him and for like Trump-like candidates in those two states. Yeah, even in a best case, I can't really see him taking them. So yeah, I would agree, both in the lean margin.
Yeah, lean margin seems fair. Could be closer, but definitely this is top 5%. Yeah. And I think maybe Minnesota, I think along the same lines.
Yeah.
Minnesota is just another one of those states, Biden just has a lock on it. Yeah, it's like technically it's in the playing field, in a really good night for Trump. Technically, it's like on the books, but like it's just not gonna flip, it's just not. It's Minnesota.
Yeah.
All right. Now these are the key states that are left. I guess maybe I don't know, east to west, west to east.
Yeah, maybe we just start east to west here.
Yeah, you want to go Pennsylvania?
Okay, yeah. Pennsylvania. We'll start with Pennsylvania here. Yeah, arguably, well, actually, I think in my opinion, probably the most important state on election night in 2024. Yeah, I think in a best case, Trump could probably win this by a lean margin, maybe get it to a 1 point victory, maybe two. Yeah, I could see it like along those lines. Like, he won by a tilt margin in 2016. And there's there's a lot of Trump support in that kind of Midwestern region. And I think Pennsylvania, like there's a chance it could surprise and vote pretty farther to the right than it did in 2016. So that's what I'm thinking. I mean, how about you?
So what margin are you
Oh,
thinking?
I said lean.
Oh, okay. Yeah, lean I think has to be the thing, has to be the characterization. Why? Because Trump getting this to +5 is just kind of out of the question for me. I think he definitely gets it over 1, because that's not a hard ask for Trump. Like getting a Rust Belt state to over 1 point is obviously on the books, and he's gonna be able to do it. The main question, of course, is, how motivated can he really make those voters, right? In the Rust Belt, those high school educated white voters that were very disillusioned in 2016 with the Democratic Party, and they decided, hey, why not give this Trump guy a chance? And it's also going to be about, can Biden really turn out these voters again for a second time? Like, obviously the Democrats turned out for Biden in big numbers in these states, and can he do it again? And no. In the best case scenario, the second question's a no, and the first question's a yes, right? So
Mhm.
there we go. And I think we follow similar logic for the other two states. Now, I don't know about you, but Michigan, it's close. I mean, this Michigan state, I would be willing to put, probably it's going to be the same thing as Pennsylvania here, but it's not hard to see this as a tilt too, just because of
Yeah, I was
everything
gonna
going
say
on.
something similar. Yeah, like this was like I believe this was Trump's closest state in 2016, like but winning by the slimmest margin. He won by like I think 0.2 or percent of the vote or something. Something so slim. And the state has really only moved to the left from then, like in terms of like, you know, kind of moving away from the more MAGA candidates, especially we saw that in 2022. So I'm very tempted to put like he could only possibly flip it by a tilt margin. But yeah, I don't know. Like again, like in a best case though, in a top 5%, maybe he could get it to 1%. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not even sure. Like, has any Republican won statewide in Michigan? Like recently? I don't even know. So I don't know. I'm a little
Yeah.
more hesitant. I'm more tempted to put it into just Tildar, in a even in a
Yeah,
best
I
case.
mean, I do think it would be more than top 5% for this to be more than 1 point. I was thinking, we should just keep the Rust Belt at lean, and Michigan, it would be tight, but it's probably lean. But I mean, after like kind of reconsidering, it's like, yeah, like Trump already probably did top 5% in 2016. Like he did really well, right? Um, he took everyone's expectations and just threw them in the trash, right? He's like, oh, Hillary Clinton, haha, right? So that was already a top 5% scenario for him, in my opinion. Now, for him to get Michigan to over a point, yes, he could somehow have some crazy appeal here and then just drop the Sun Belt. Yeah, it's possible. But I do also think if at that point he's getting Michigan to that kind of margin, like a lot of other things just don't work properly. Like if he's able to get that, he has a really solid shot at the White House, because once you get Michigan to like a, I wouldn't say safe, right, but it's a safer margin. Like 1 point is already really safe for a Republican in Michigan. It's a fat
In
margin.
recent years, yeah.
Yes, and like you can see here, we're already at 269, and we only gave Pennsylvania and Michigan. Like, and once you win Michigan, you basically win Wisconsin, right? So I think we could also add Wisconsin here, but I think
Mhm.
this is lean. Maybe there's a case for likely, yeah, but no, I think
Yeah,
it's lean.
yeah, I agree. Yeah,
It's probably just lean.
best case lean. Yeah. Mhm.
Now, yeah, like I do also agree with you that Pennsylvania is the most important state in the 2024 election. Now, Trump only basically needs 269 to win because Republicans have a majority of delegate what's it called? State delegate like majorities.
Yeah.
So he does only need 269 to win. Uh I mean, like without Wisconsin, he's at 269, right? So Pennsylvania is a huge state, and yeah, it's just the routes to 270 are really interesting. I think
Mhm.
that's something we should take note of. Now, Georgia, we kind of skipped Georgia because this is a whole thing in the
Yeah, yeah.
Midwest, but Georgia.
Yeah. I think best case, yeah, oof. I don't know. This is interesting. Yeah, it's still Southern state. It voted, I mean, it voted by decent margins in 2022 for Republicans. But yeah, it's been trending left. So especially against
Has.
the more MAGA ones. So again, I think I'll have to put this in lean, like best case for Trump. I don't think there's any shot he brings it back to 5 points, especially with the way it's moving left. There's no shot. Uh,
Yeah.
but you know, yeah, I think that's generally fair.
Honestly, I was even considering tilt. Now, the reason I say this is just the big disconnect there in Georgia between Kemp and Walker that we had in 2022. For those of you who don't know, the governor's race, the incumbent governor just thrashed Stacey Abrams in the governor's race, winning by a likely margin, while the Senate candidate, who was more Trump friendly, Herschel Walker, the football star, he lost in a very close election, went to a runoff and everything, and he lost by like a point or something.
2 points, yeah.
Yeah. So in this kind of race, it's like, you know, like it's hard to even see Trump getting it over 1 point, in my opinion. I think Georgia is almost certainly sealed for Biden at this point. The thing with
Yeah,
I
I mean,
do
I
say
don't
I
know.
do think that I think because the trends are moving it more to the left, and how can you really win Georgia as a Republican? You have to have Brian Kemp's messaging, right? You have to be like, I'm a strong like conservative, but the but is like I care about our elections too. So, like Trump doesn't have that kind of messaging clearly in Georgia. So I
Mm,
don't know. I think Georgia still will vote for Trump, but
in
yeah,
a best case, but
yeah,
yeah, we'll
best
see.
case a little over
Yeah.
one, I think is definitely fair.
Okay. Next, Nebraska too. We can't forget about that.
Nebraska too. I don't know. You know more about these individual districts. So what do you
I
think about this?
actually, I mean, Trump only won this. Oh, actually, wait, let me think. Because he won it in 2016 by like 2 points, and he lost it by like, yeah, 6 or 7. Well, 6 in 2020. And yeah, because the district moved ever so slightly to the right after redistricting. But yeah, I think generally it's still trending blue. I actually, yeah, if I had to get, yeah, and even in a best case, yeah, I don't really see Trump flipping it back. I think I'm thinking leaner tilt blue, honestly.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go with what you say. I think that's fair. Like, eh. It's like I don't really see Omaha just like voting for Trump out of nowhere. I don't know.
And
Doesn't
then I
really make
guess,
sense.
yeah,
Arizona.
yeah, AZ, definitely like very conservative history. And yeah, I voted it like it's possible. It voted for Trump in 2016. Yeah, I definitely could see it in lean R.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
it's
doesn't
one
go
of
back
these
to likely, I don't
2016 states
think.
like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Like I know they're completely different states, but it's also like Trump can just get back his old margins. It's like it's a top 5% scenario. Like you really
Hmm.
think Trump can't get back to his old margins in a top 5% scenario? Like, of course he can, right?
Yeah.
Nevada, I think does vote for Trump in a top scenario as well.
Yep.
I think arguably Nevada's going to vote to the right of Arizona. Potentially. I think it's.
Mm,
I'm putting it out
oh,
there. I'm putting it out there. Actually, I think
yeah,
lean.
it's a possibility.
I'm putting it. I'm putting in lean as well. I think
Yeah, I think
it's
that's fair.
definitely. Yeah. I mean, obviously, the 2022 elections gave us some insight into Nevada. Um, and yes, it was close in Nevada. Yes, I'm just gonna trust what John Ralston says in Nevada.
Yeah.
But um,
Yeah, I think as a
yeah,
whole, Nevada, yeah, is shifting to the right ever so slightly.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I reckon, yeah, in a best case, I think it'll definitely be lean for Trump. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people just forget how close 2016 and 2020 are. They see these big electoral college victories on both sides, 306, which both times, of course, they both got 306. But if you look at all these individual states where they clutched up, that they had a win to clutch up, they're all like in a few thousand votes. It's always like that. And
Hmm.
if we look here, this was a few thousand votes, this was a few thousand votes, and this was a few thousand votes. And it's this trend that just keeps happening and happening.
Mm.
Biden clutched up by a few thousand votes in a few states, and he took the victory. Trump clutched up in 2016. He did the same thing. So these states are going to come down to the wire, I think, again. Like,
Mhm.
I don't see these are obviously best case scenarios. It's really hard to see them happening. I think again the American public is going to make this race close again because they like giving us content.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will
Yeah, I
say
mean, I think this is a solid, like,
I will
best
say
case scenario for Trump.
Biden gets a lot more votes in his best case than Trump. Trump only improves on his 2016 map by Nevada. It's the only state he flips.
And
But
he loses Nebraska too.
and he loses Nebraska too. That's true.
Yeah.
Biden,
Mm.
on the other hand, he improves by Texas and North Carolina, which are fat states. They have
Mm.
a lot of electoral votes. Here, Trump only gets kind of a baby state. It's not irrelevant for sure. Six electoral votes is not irrelevant in anyone's mind, or they wouldn't be spending tons of money there. But yeah, it's just Trump has a much lower ceiling. I will say because once he cracks this, he's got to start putting money in New Hampshire, and at that point you might as well not put money in New Hampshire. It's kind of a waste of money. So
Yeah.
there we
Hmm.
go. 312 for Trump in his best case scenario. Biden's at 226. Compare it to the Biden map, and you'll see Biden has a much better best case night. And again, just for your reference, this is our general prediction here, where Biden wins by 303. So you can kind of see here Trump improves by about 77, I think, if I did the math correctly in my head right now.
Hmm.
77 electoral votes from the generic to the best, and Biden gets 56 more. So yes, Trump does do better in his best case compared to the generic than Biden does, but that's because Biden was already winning in the generic. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like this video, because I think this was a good video. Comment down below to help us with the YouTube algorithm and to talk with people, because you guys actually have good discussions down there.
Yeah. Good opinions. Yeah.
Yeah, and give us your opinions, give us what you think will be the best case scenario for Trump. I think there's good commentary down there. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you made it all the way through, you obviously like our content, so ring the bell. And yeah.
Yeah. Everyone make sure to share with your friends, get this election content out there.
Hype it
Yeah.
up. And so you guys can talk with each other as well. It's cool. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.
See ya.